Having trouble squatting all the way down? Do you have a dance background? Watch this.
Our next caller is Lucy from Virginia.
Hi, Lucy. How can we help you?
Wow. Hi, guys. Thank you so, this is crazy. Thank you so much for having me on today. For the first time in my 46 years, I have been working on getting stronger rather than skinnier. All thanks to you. Your content is accessible, logical, and incredibly helpful. I know you probably feel like you repeat yourselves constantly, but please keep doing it because us dummies over here really need to hear it a few times before we catch on. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
Awesome.
My question. I haven't been lifting long. I found you guys in September of 2022. I started with anabolic performance, and now I'm in phase 2 of symmetry. I have both a ballet, I was a professional ballet dancer, and now I'm a yoga teacher and practitioner. So I'm very interested in getting the right technique in my lifts before I overload myself too much. So on that note, I can't seem to get below 90 degrees, if that, in my squat, in my barbell squat. I'm very mobile in all 3 zones. I did the prime tests, passed all of those. But I still feel like I'm stuck either in my hips or my ankles, and my back seems to round a bit. When we teach yoga and when I was a ballet dancer, we often talk about people, different anatomies having different sort of centers of gravity. And so what that means to me is longer femurs, easier to do certain things, but harder to do other things, and vice versa. So I just didn't know if, without excusing myself, I don't want any excuses, but I didn't know if in certain anatomies just couldn't go ass to grass, because I'm coveting that for some reason. I just know I should be able to do it, and I feel like I can't. I also should note I've had both of my hips replaced, total hip replacements, and so I don't know if that's doing it. I feel like I've restored most of my mobility since then, but I've just never done this kind of fitness before, so I don't know if that's holding me up.
Yeah. Wow.
How low can you go if you had your heels elevated when you squat?
I did. In fact, I heard you guys the other day on your podcast talking about that. So I tried it, and it still felt, I don't think it's my ankles, in other words. So if I don't load myself, if I just go down, I can go all the way down, but I can't come back up. And I don't think I could have any weight on me to go all the way down. So that's kind of where I'm wondering what the next steps would be. If there's something, I know there's something I'm missing, actually.
This is a great question. Yeah. So I've trained a few dancers who were very, very high level. And when I first trained them, it posed a completely different challenge for me as a trainer, because until then, usually what we encounter as trainers are people who just don't have the flexibility to do certain exercises.
Yeah, sounds like strength more than
and now when I train these dancers, they had all the flexibility in the world, but they lacked the strength to provide the stability. Remember, mobility is range of motion plus strength and stability, right? It's not just range of motion, and it's not just strength. You got to have both. So, but you did throw in a wrench here, which is the hip replacements. Okay, so that's a bit that's a wrench. So let me address the question as if you didn't have hip replacement, and then just for people listening, and then for you, I'll have something a little different. So if there was no hip replacement, I would say this is probably entirely a strength issue. Being a professional, doing ballet professionally, my cousin does it. I'm very familiar with the world of ballet. Like flexibility is, it's incredible at that level. And on top of it, yoga. So you've probably got great flexibility. I would say it's a strength issue 100%. I would work on strength. I would use no weight. I would try to create tension in those lower positions, and then support yourself coming all the way up. So what I would do is I would go down as low as you could with no weight, or as low as you felt control over with no weight. Okay. So in other words, if going all the way down means you can't come back up without helping yourself, then I wouldn't do that. I would go just to the point where you feel it's a challenge, create some tension, and then come up. Now you have hip replacement, both sides. So this is a wrench because that can limit your range of motion. When they do a replacement on hips in particular, they're not like replacing, it's not like creating like the same thing you had before. there are limitations to replacements that you wouldn't necessarily find with a natural hip, for example. So
Okay.
I don't think you should test your depth or range of motion aggressively at all. I would play with it, but I'd be very, very careful. And then to add another thing, when somebody is very flexible, but they're working on strength, usually what I do is I limit the range of motion anyway. So if I took somebody who had just hyper flexibility, I would not have them train to their end ranges of motion because their lack of stability was so bad, or the strength was it didn't match the flexibility to the point where if we went to end ranges of motion, I am dramatically increasing risk of injury. So what I would do with those people is I would cut their range of motion just short and try and create connection and strength within those. So to sum it up, you're at no disadvantage. I think you're fine going at 90 degrees. I think split stance exercises would be great for you. I think hip thrusting would be amazing for you. I think those would be really good for you. And when you squat, there's nothing wrong with going down to 90 degrees and coming up. And then, like I said, you can play with ranges of motion, but I would do so with very little to no weight and go just outside of where you think you have control and nothing deeper than that. And once you master that, then you can try it again. But listen to your body too. If it feels like your hips are locking or like you have to do weird things to get deeper, then that's the joint. That's not necessarily strength or muscle.
Yeah, I mean, it's strength, stability, like all that, especially with the hips now trying to relearn a lot of like be able to respond appropriately laterally and with rotation. And so, you know, if you could spend as much time as you can with body weight exercises, even if you go like split stance, if you go single leg, if you go assisted single leg. So if I get the suspension trainer involved where I can actually like kind of like very, very incrementally like decrease in terms of my depth and try as much as I can to produce that kind of tension throughout your body and squeeze and drive your way up and just keep continuously kind of like working on that. And also like lateral movements, like Cossack squats and lateral lunges and also doing things a bit with rotation. So step up with the rotation and just kind of working through that entire process of like multiplanar type of work to re-educate those hips on how to respond appropriately. So that way you feel like you can get them to respond and brace and you can feel some tension actually like being produced again. And then box squats, you know, at a height where you feel comfortable the most to begin with. So that 90 degrees, whatever that is, you know, you're going to start in that bottom position, you're going to brace and you're going to try and drive up. And that's like your entire focus is like, you know, generating force and being able to get up out of the hole.
Did I hear you say that you're on phase 2 of MAP Symmetry right now?
Yeah, so I know all of these things you're saying. I'm so excited to recognize all of these terms.
Yeah,
I haven't yet done the 5x5. I guess whatever's at the end. So that's kind of why I wanted to find all.
It'll be exciting to see because I think that's the right program for you. So you chose the right program for what we're talking about. So hopefully you're going to get a lot of these benefits. Just to circle back, I wanted the two things that Justin said that I was going to go this direction anyways, which is I love the suspension trainer and basically doing a pistol squat, you know, holding on to the suspension trainer. And so allowing it to, you know, go down to where you're comfortable, work out, get strong in that spot, and then just slowly challenging it a little bit deeper with one leg and body weight at a time with the support, I think would be a great way to build strength there. The other way with the box squats, so I've done this with clients in a similar situation where we get like a really low box and then I get a bunch of those foam pads that I stack up, and then we start right where they're really comfortable. We work there for a couple weeks, then I pull one foam pad out. So now they're getting another
inch by inch.
Yeah, you know, inch by. So now they're getting another 2 to 4 inches deeper. Then I pull the next foam pad out, and so we just slowly work our way backwards like that. The combination of that with the, you know, suspension trainer, pistol squats with support, I think are great ways. But we have a lot of unilateral work that's in symmetry, so it'd be interesting to see just from what we've programmed in there, what kind of benefits you see also.
When you do a split stance, you can go all the way down, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So, you know, this wouldn't be an issue if you did this. When you did your barbell squats, you stopped at 90 degrees and you loaded it. And then your full range of motion comes with your split stance exercises. There's no problem with that. I like loading hip thrusts a lot for someone like you. A hip thrust is a shorter range of motion, really strengthens the glutes, really strengthens that support for the hips. And there's nothing wrong with loading a squat to just 90 degrees with these under the circumstances that you're kind of communicating. Because the issue is really the wrench is the hip replacement. If there was no hip replacement, this would be a little bit more straightforward. But when they replace a joint, it's not designed to be like, well, they don't design it that way. There's a point that the joint isn't going to move any further. In fact, they'll tell you this when you get the replacement. They'll say you can't rotate more than this. You can't. So what you don't want to do is push past that and think, well, I got to go deeper, because you could cause yourself some real problems. But there's you have no issues with flexibility, obviously. You have so this is all strength. And there's nothing wrong with building strength, going down to 90 degrees, and then working on range of motion with other exercises that you feel more comfortable with.
It's such a good point. If you're getting full range of motion in lunges and split stance stuff, you're addressing the thing that we would be concerned about.
Yeah.
If everything was shortened and you weren't being able to go down full range in other movements, then there'd be an issue there that we'd be concerned about. But you're still addressing full range of motion with other movements. So the only other thing would be like the benefits that you get of a full deep squat is, okay, you're going to build your ass probably a little bit more, which to hip thrust point that Sal's saying.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the one thing that maybe you miss out on because you're going 90 degrees in your squat. You're going to be more quad dominant in that squat than you are going to get glutes from it. But then if we're talking about aesthetics now and building the butt more, then I would push you in the direction of what Sal's saying, which is we would focus on loading the hip thrust, and that's where you're going to get that glute dominant work.
How do you feel with what's your stance when you squat, by the way?
Well, yeah. So initially I was very parallel because that's what we do in yoga, right? It's chair pose. So but then I watched videos and now I'm wider and I have my toes pointed out more, and that feels better. Yeah, I can go low. Good. Yeah.
I want you to go by feel because you're not like the average person, Lucy. A lot of people call us and they've not done all the work and exercise and movement stuff like you have. And so I don't necessarily I always tell people to listen to their body, but I want you to really trust your body because you're in your body. Like you've been in your body for a long time through your training. So if you watch a video or you hear us say something and it doesn't feel right to you, I want you to listen to that, like you did with the parallel squat. Like that didn't feel right to you. You modified your form and technique, and it felt better. So really listen to your body. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with just doing 90-degree squats and getting stronger there. There's nothing wrong with that at all. As long as you do all the other stuff, you're totally fine.
Waiting in the wings after symmetry, I have anabolic advanced and power lift. Mm-hmm. Do you guys have a recommendation for what order, or should I return to performance in between those two? Or
no, not after symmetry. After symmetry, I think you're good. I would go anabolic advanced,
but then after that, I would go performance.
Yeah,
I like to have, especially with my clients, that it's like overall health, longevity, strength. We're not very specific. I love to rotate a strength-based program with a more functional-based program. And so, I would put, performance and symmetry as our more, functional-based programs. Like I would put that in that category. So every other program I would want to be one of those to kind of interrupt the strength focus.
Yeah. Now I know you didn't bring up diet, but I want to ask you because the ballet world is got some of the biggest challenges when it comes to relationships with food. It's very, very, it's one of those spaces that it's just quite common. How are you with nutrition and eating in a way to fuel your body for strength gains? Is that a challenge, or you got a good grasp of it?
It's a challenge. Okay. I've really just had a tough time with food most of from about, I guess I was anorexic when I was 13 through dance. And that's actually why I stopped professional dancing. And probably very likely why I have hip replacements, because I am I went right in from ballet to college swimming to marathon running to yoga. Yeah. And I wish I could say it's yin yoga, but it's not. So I do. But I promise, after listening to you guys, I'm tracking my protein. I get body weight in protein. So I'm much more cognizant, at least, of what I'm putting in my body.
Do you feel uncomfortable when you eat in a way to fuel strength? Like, do you feel like I'm eating? Oh man, I'm eating too much. This doesn't feel right.
No.
Okay, good.
And what I've done, so I kind of hit a tipping point and it was very serendipitous the way I found you guys, because my body had just sort of said, we're done. And I was walking, because I couldn't run because of my hip replacements. I was walking upwards of probably 35,000 steps a day. So I've cut way back on that and increased my food so I basically kind of done a reverse diet, but by cutting way back on my activity versus my food, although I have increased my protein as well.
Good.
And I feel great. I mean, I'm sleeping better. My husband likes me better. I'm just generally, I think I'm a better mother. So I'm really focused. I have a teenage daughter, so I'm very aware that she's watching me. So I'm really trying for me and for her and for everyone to be better, just be better.
Yeah, I try doing a little bit of an aggressive bulk. That would help you with the strength so much. I think it would blow your mind. So you look really. Your body fat percentage looks like it's in the teens. Okay, so I would if you tested it, I would let your body fat get up to the mid 20s, and I think you'll see your best strength gains and health gains in that percentage. But I would do a nice aggressive bulk. Go ahead and push the calories a little bit. I mean, you can eat healthy, but push the calories, not just proteins. You're hitting your protein targets, but go for the carbs and the fats, especially the fats, and watch what happens. You'll get more out of that than you will out of the, tweaking your programming. I mean, that'll make the biggest difference right there.
Lucy, I'm going to have Doug put you in our private forum, just so we can be there for support, and you can reach out to us as you go through this journey. And then I'd also like to see the squat. We did a lot of speculating, and
good point.
Sometimes when I see somebody move, there's something that jumps out at me that it could be a small tweak or I could help out. And so I would love that too, is just for you to get on there and show me a body weight squat so I could kind of see your movement and see if we can continue to add value to what's going on with you.
Okay. Thank you guys so much.
You got it.
All right.
Thanks for calling in.
Yeah.
Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So for people listening, she said that her eating.
I'm so glad you went there.
Yeah,
because so I know you. I know you went the doctor safe route with the hip thing, but I think you hit it more on the head with the nutrition and strength.
Yeah.
I think that she just is not very strong in that position, and she hasn't fed her body ever. So she's been heavily focused on flexibility her whole life. For the first time ever, she's trying to back squat ass to grass. She knows she has the flexibility because she can probably put her legs over her head. She's so flexible. But when she gets down, she can get down in that position. She can't get out. So what tells me it's not the hip replacement is her ability to get down comfortably.
Yeah, I like that you said show us the squat so we could kind of see, because then you'll tell. You'll be able to notice that, that's the hip joint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You'll tell if that's limit. And she didn't really communicate anything to me that made me go like, oh, something's going on in her hip area that's limiting her from going down there. She can go all the way down, has a hard time getting out. That tells me it's a strength issue.
It's damn near impossible to feel strong and adequate when you're underfed.
Right.
So that's a great insight there in terms of being in that state for a long time. That's going to be real challenging to build.
If you're a professional ballet dancer and you don't have an eating disorder, it's rare. That's how common it is in that space, and they start young. They start as real young,
I've
and
heard
they go
that
into their
about
teens.
some gymnastic events as well.
Yeah,
with young girls.
And what happens? You're so underfed that you actually give yourself osteoporosis or joint degeneration because you can't fuel your body. Even with all that exercise, even with all that stuff, you're so underfed that your body starts to break down. But yeah, we'll need to see because again, to be fair, like I've trained a few osteopaths and they've talked to me about joint replacements and they're like, look, these things are not made
Right.
to have like the range of motion that, and so you always wanted to be careful.
Right.
But yeah, I think if she fed herself, she'd be like, holy, I mean, she's already doing more of it now and she's noticing all these benefits. It's probably not enough though. I bet you if she pushed it a little more.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah.
you hit it on the head. Like, I mean, somebody like that would get so much benefit and it's probably hard for her to hear this, but to put some fat on.
That's why I said, that's exactly why I said.
Put some body fat on.
Yes.
Put 10 pounds, which probably sounds like so much.
That'll be the healthiest thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I actually think when she does that, I think you'll see the strength go up in those areas. And then I think coming out of the hole from the squat.
Look, to that point, I've worked with people like this, and they want to. They reach a point where like, okay, I'm comfortable gaining weight so long as it's just muscle. And I remember working with this is early in my career. I worked with functional medicine practitioners. Like, no, they need to gain body fat. Like they can gain muscle, that's
There's
fine.
a healing effect.
They got to put body fat on.
Yeah.
So I had clients where literally the
Especially-
target was to get up to this body fat, and then when we did, it was like magic. The hormones balanced and everything worked out.
Especially as a woman. right?
Especially as a woman.
Especially as a woman.
Yes.
So I really think we're heading in the right direction with that conversation. Again, like you said, I'd like to see the squat. That's the reason why I asked for it. Because I have a sneaky suspicion that it's less to do with the hips, even though that's the right way to be safe to communicate to her. But I have a feeling it's really a strength thing. And even when she said, she's since the show, she's moving in the right direction. She cut back activity. She probably cut it in half, which she needed to do
Yeah.
for sure. But then how much more calories are we really eating? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Then we really still need to feed the body more. So we'll see.